Well, welcome everyone. Click this is the Kevin Nash podcast. He's Kevin. I'm Sean. Hope you all had a great Thanksgiving last week. Doing whatever you do. And you know what last week was, Kev? If I could hop in a time machine last week and go back 31 years, I might have chosen to go to Madison Square Garden, where I would have seen your first heavyweight title.
An 8-second match.
An 8-second match. You know, I was in college at the time, and somebody I went to school with, they had tickets and they were there. And they were sitting in the, like, further up in the house. And Patterson and Briscoe came up the stairs and sat behind them before the start of the match. And he turned to his friend, he's like, I think something's going to happen here. They're watching. And yeah, and that was it. And that was Diesel.
That was the start.
A moment on Bob Backlund, maybe, while we acknowledge this moment.
Well, I've said it numerous times. I appreciate him for doing the favor. I know that he didn't want to do the favor. But he was
Did he not think it was a transitional thing? I mean, come on, Bob.
he had such a run for so long. I think that it's very hard for anybody in our business to realize the run's over.
Probably all athletics, though, right? I mean,
absolutely. Yeah.
You kind of want to go out on top, but you don't want to go out when you're on top.
No. And then on top of all that, like we were sitting there, I was talking to Tamara and we were watching the 49ers play, and Purdy threw 17 interceptions.
Yeah, that was fun to watch when I had money on them.
To Carolina, who I don't know how. I remember that the quarterback from Carolina won the Heisman Trophy at Alabama, and he looked like the fourth string quarterback on some injury ravished team. He had nothing. I mean, he has nothing on. He doesn't throw a tight spiral. He's a little bit athletic and can move, but man, he don't want he's not going to get an extra yard for you because he ain't taking any contact because he takes enough from the offensive line letting people through. But she said to me, she goes, Montana was when? I said 80s. She goes, and he only played with the 49ers? And I said, where did he? I said, no.
Kansas City.
Yeah. I said, where? I said, no, he went someplace else. I said, they all do. I said, he went to Kansas City.
For
I think the only one
2 years, maybe.
The only one that worked out for was Peyton Manning, because Manning hadn't won a Super Bowl in Indianapolis, and then he went to Denver and won one.
Yeah. Very few. It was a thing, man. People became a star, a superstar, franchise player became identified as that city. You know, could you imagine Namath not being in New York?
No.
But now it's so rare that somebody plays their entire career in one city.
But didn't Namath end up with the Rams?
See, he may have. It was before I watched.
Yeah, he did. He ended up with the Rams. I'm almost positive.
Right.
Wouldn't that make sense? After C.C. Ryder?
Right. Well, but he, it's the fact that I don't know this. He was his significance in.
Steve, just make sure, but I'm pretty sure Namath went to the Rams after he played with the Jets.
God, I didn't even know that. Broadway Joe. Man.
You're young.
Broadway Joe, yeah, but I mean, in the history of the sport, never seen him in a fucking Rams uniform in anything. Imagine buying that action figure. I like the Joe Namath, please, but put him in that one with the... Yeah, look at that. 77, one fucking year.
And I would remember that because that's my senior year of high school. I always like when it's like the AFL. They didn't even play in the NFL. They played in the American Football League.
Yeah, it was before the merger.
That was the whole, you know, premise of the Super Bowl. The two
So
leagues battled it out.
props to you. I don't know. I'm looking at some statistics. Oh, there it is. Shortest matches is this? Shortest title changes? You're number 2
I'm number 2 in a lot of things
by
because
point.
they made it where I was number 1, and then I went to the other side, so then they had to make sure that any record I had was no longer
You're so
valid.
right. Look at this fucking list. Leave this up. A whole number for every one of these, except the one they put before Kevin. They have to go to the decimal.
0.6.
7.6. Where if
Was
you
it- was
rounded
that-
the bitch, it
Was
would
that
be
on,
8.
was that on Longines? Is it like the Olympic, you know? And I look at all that shit, man,
That's
and
incredible.
and to me, it's just like, man, I'm so glad I wasn't a fucking mark. You know, like
Right,
okay,
where that would have burned you up.
yeah, like who gives a fuck? So actually, number 2 and 3 are the same person, right? Because Kane was Diesel, so
Well,
who's to say who was what?
And
not that Diesel.
number three is the sci-fi ECW title. So a lot of people wouldn't even consider that a world championship.
Right.
And then number 4 is the U.S. title, so that doesn't count.
Is that and number 1's a world title?
Yes, number 1's the world title. I was there. This was the Staples Center. It was the SmackDown premiere on Fox. Kofi was champion. Brock Lesnar showed up and beat him in 7.6 seconds.
7.6. Good. Let's get that.
But-
in.
He had to be. I mean, Kofi had to have been happy. The fact that he's still there, and they have a chance at the belts next week, which would now be this week.
Yes. Kev, what are you going to wear for your next flight? It may not be sweats.
Bullshit. When you sent me that, there are so few things that like crawl up my ass sideways.